liberté, égalité, fraternité. What do these words mean to you? Maybe you think about this movie that came out last year. Maybe you think of musical. Or maybe you have some vague memories from history class. Or Lord, any other French nationals in the room might think of your country and growing up. I'm not sure. These are the words of upheaval and democracy. These are the words of the French Revolution. The year is 1789. It's October, it's fall. There was a really bad harvest. There's almost no bread in Paris. You're a middle-aged woman, you have 3 kids, and you're hungry. Your husband is a sans-culotte. He's a poor, laboring Frenchman. And you and your friends, you and the women of Paris, you want to do something about this. The society's not right. You can't get food, people are starving. There's no representation in government. So you go and you grab some cannons, you get some guns. You have to show the king that you have some power. 7,000 women march to Versailles, where old King Louis lives. Him and his wife Marie Antoinette wake up to this. And all of a sudden, before they can even stop anything, they march right in Versailles, and they go up to that king and they say, "We need food, we need representation, you need to move to Paris now." Not only does he do that, but by the end of this revolution, he would be dead. And those women would change the world, including the men that joined them. Primarily men, but also women too, it's important. This man, this is Louis XVI. Obviously, you can see he's got some nice clothing there. He was one of the most powerful men in all of Europe. And today I'm going to focus not on dates and names, but I'm going to focus on the reasons why this revolution changed the world. Louis XVI was taught that absolute monarchy was no longer absolute. From this time on, from the late 1780s until now, kings learned that the power resided in the people, not the other way around. As I said, he was eventually killed in the early 1790s. So were a lot of other people. But this is one of the first things that is very important about this event in the history of the world. Women. Women have rights. Women are equal. That was one of the ideas of the revolution. It may have not been implemented right after the revolution, but that was one of the concepts. Excuse me if I bastardize her name. I believe it's Olympe de Gouges. She wrote a book about the civil liberties of women, the equality of women. This is the 1780s we're talking about. These ideas became seeds for the American equality of women, the British equality of women, French, eventually most countries in the world today. And it all started with this revolution. We also learned that extremes, democratic or monarchic, obviously, can cause death, destruction. This is an example right here of the radical left and what occurred. Maxime Robespierre set up an organization called the Committee of Public Safety, very ironically named. 40,000 people were guillotined. In fact, one young man was killed because he chopped down a tree that represented the revolution. No other reason than that. And of course, King Louis killed many people, and he bankrupted his country, and of course he himself was eventually killed. You can't force religion upon people. This right here is a painting of the Vendée. It's a part of France that actually rebelled against the revolution. These people, unlike the revolutionaries, had a strong faith in God, and for it they were punished. Robespierre actually tried to outlaw Christianity, completely revolutionary. He actually wanted an entirely secular state, and he made all the priests in France give an oath of loyalty to the government instead of to the Pope. So this part of France said, we don't want to have any part in this. And as a result, They were massacred. In fact, the current estimates are between 150 and 200,000 men, women, and children were killed. Some historians say it's the first genocide in the history of the world. This is obviously the dark side of the revolution. This is a painting of one of the battles in the East where the French began to fight their neighbors. Most countries around France, in fact, essentially all of them, were monarchies. They didn't like this whole new concept of a republic, no king, the people were in charge. So the French said, you know what, we should just attack before they attack us, because they're going to. So they did. And they also had this idea that, well, all the people there, they're controlled by the nobles, they're controlled by the kings. We can free them. And they had this noble idea of taking over countries and letting the people rule. And of course, you can't force people to have any government. And we learned that in Iraq. You know, Moscow learned that in Afghanistan. We learned that in Afghanistan. Vietnam. Things haven't really changed. This is a sans-culotte, representative of the revolution. It may have not been like the American Revolution. It wasn't a smooth transition into a Republican government. Many people died. Beautiful ideas were born. Beautiful ideas died. Napoleon took over the country. But there's something about this revolution that's a microcosm of our planet. It represents the good, the bad, and the ugly. Maybe now that we have gone over a little bit of this revolution, you might have a different idea next time you hear the words liberty, fraternity, and equality. Thank you.